Reproduction in organisms of class 12 biology. So, to start with, reproduction in organisms, a very basic concept that we already know is reproduction is a fundamental process that is required for the functioning of any organism and for the continuity of species from one generation to another. So for any and every species, it is important that they reproduce and they pass on from one generation to another, and that we have been studying already as a basic concept from a very preliminary level, that reproduction is a very important process required for the perpetuation of species from one generation to another and passing on of the characters and traits from one generation to the other. Now to begin with, what do you mean by reproduction? So production of young ones like parent. So that is reproduction. Reproduction means your young ones will be produced like the parent, who will have the characteristic of all living beings. Inherent characteristic of all living beings. That means whatever the parents are having, the same thing is passed on from one generation to the other. So for the continuity and for making sure that your generation to the next, there is a continuity of species, or there is a passing on of the traits from one generation to the other, it is very important that reproduction happens. It is one of the basic needs, it is one of the fundamental requirements of any living organism in the world. So why would we go for reproduction? What are the objectives or aims behind it? First of all, perpetuation of species. That means a never-ending continuation of species. That means we want our race to exist throughout, suppose. So in that case, the reproduction has to continue. Otherwise, it will be lost in the gene pool somewhere. We will lose the particular race. So so that such a situation doesn't come up, it is important that the individual reproduces. And of course, increase in the number of its individuals. Now every particular human being will want his or her race to continue. So for that, we should understand how does reproduction happen, what are the basic necessities, why is it required, and why is it so important that it is occupying one of the biggest or the most major thrones in the world of biology. So to reproduce, basically there are various modes, out of which one is asexual, one is vegetative propagation, and the other is sexual. Now to give a basic concept here only, that this chapter will be focusing more on the plant reproduction, because animal reproduction will be dealt with separately in details in a different chapter. Now in this case, plant reproduction means all the three are possible. So if you're talking about asexual reproduction, asexual, that means if you want to break this from middle, you see a means without, okay, without or in the absence of, and sexual means something which involves the fusion of two different cells, fusion of two, okay, there is no just one, it is two. So it is without the fusion of two different cells. That means what? Asexual means it is just one parent involvement, and that is leading to the reproduction process. Now in case of plants, this is very, very common so there is a flow chart here which represents the asexual reproduction in plants. Now if you want to talk about, say, asexual reproduction in plants, a rejuvenation of protoplast. First of all, we try to take the protoplast out. Protoplast, you know what is a protoplast, and once that is taken out, if formation of specialized asexual reproductive structures are produced, okay, if somehow we are able to get these asexual reproductive structures refer to those particular organs specifically which lead to the reproduction process in case of asexual reproduction. Now ultimately this gives rise to new individuals. New individuals means as a result of the reproduction process, what new individual is produced, or what is the new generation, or who is going to continue your race. So for this, there is no cell from different lineages. So there is nothing from different lineage. That means what? There is no recombination, there is no combination from a different species, there is no other genetic variation that you can observe here. Now that means whatever the mother plant had, that same thing is going to continue. Now at this point I would like to tell you that either it can be advantageous or it can be disadvantageous. It can be advantageous in the sense, suppose the mother plant is a very very healthy plant and it has all the superior characteristics, and whatever we were desiring, everything is present there. In that case the child will get all the necessary characters. That's fine, that's all we need. But imagine in case of an inferior plant, what will happen in case the mother is inferior? Then if one particular plant has some characters which we don't like, those characters also will be passed on. We can't really help. Okay, those characters are passed on from one. We can't even hope that in the next generation that the unwanted character or undesirable character will be lost, because whatever the mother plant has, the same thing is getting passed on to the child also. So there is no question. But in case of superior, it's fine. If everything is say desired characters and everything that you need is there, then we have no problem. But if there are inferior, we definitely don't want that plant to sustain, or rather survival of the fittest itself won't let the plant to survive in the environment. So that is basically a disadvantage where we cannot really help in the advancement of the characters. Well, now coming on to the key points, what are the basic characters, the features that we should keep in mind? First of all, offsprings are identical to each other and exact copies of the parent. Exact copies means the Xerox copies, okay, the carbon copies. There is no change. Like whatever the mother was, the same way the daughter plant is. Again, this daughter plant, when it becomes a mother plant and gives rise to its next generation, again the same thing will continue. So generation after generation, the same thing is going on, continuing. So there is not much change from one generation to another. Okay, so offsprings are identical means exactly same as the mother plant. Next, clone. Clone, the word itself means it's a Xerox copy. Okay, genetically identical individuals, absolutely identical. There is no change in the gene at all. That is called a clone, and it's common among single-celled organisms. In bacteria, virus, all these organisms, you will find this clone, that is asexual reproduction, very common. Plants and animals with relatively simple organization. So this is possible only when you have a some organization which lacks complexity, or which is not as complex as, for example, a human body. A human body will never be thought to expected to behave in this asexual reproduction process, because that's not possible. It's so complex. But in case of simple organisms, we can definitely say a yes to it. Now coming to the mode of reproduction. So there are various processes by which this can happen. First of all, binary fission. Okay, so this is a very common thing that we all have heard by now. Binary fission means where one cell divides into two halves. Like if you have one cell here, it will give another cell, and here another cell. So this one cell will divide into two equal halves, and each rapidly grows into an adult. So mother cell and the two daughter cells, which will individually grow into adults. This is very common in bacteria, virus and all these things. This is a binary fission. Now coming on to yeast. Yeast undergoes unequal division, okay, and what is important here is the bud. There is a small bud formation. Do you know how bud formation happens? From the mother cell, there is a bud formed on the body only, which later on detaches from the mother plant and grows as an individual plant. This is bud formation. Separates from the parent cell later on when it is mature enough, and it grows into a new yeast organism. So this is very famous in Saccharomyces cerevisiae, yeast. Next, kingdom fungi and simple plants like algae. So suppose fungi and algae are also very simple organisms which do not require much complex processes. These require special asexual reproductive structures which are called zoospores. Okay, these things have to be remembered, like which organism reproduces in what basis. For example, for bacteria it is binary fission, for yeast it is bud formation, for fungi it is zoospore, that is microscopic and motile. So you can observe it only under a microscope, and it is definitely motile. It has the capability to move. Then for penicillium it is conidia formation. Penicillium also, it is a very exclusive thing. It's conidia only for penicillium. Then for hydra it is bud again. For sponge, the term that you have to use is gemmules. So these are the basic things that may come for the basic understanding, and also you should remember for the exams, because sometimes they may ask, as in they can give the name of the organism and they may be asking you how do they reproduce, in what method, or in MCQ type questions. This is a very common question. Now coming to the vegetative propagation. So we also must have heard about what is vegetative propagation. Again, a very common thing in plants. Vegetative propagation is absolutely from the vegetative organs of the plant we are regenerating the new plant. Okay, the vegetative organ is the most common factor. There is no question of any other formation of sex cells, or there is no question of fusion of organisms from one to other. So this is just one vegetative organ which is giving rise to a new plant. Okay, now there are basically, broadly if you divide, there are two. One is natural and the other is artificial. So under natural means the one where human beings don't have any role to play. So under natural we have underground stems. Okay, underground stems in the sense, very commonly you must have heard about potato. Okay, that's very common. We are hearing it from childhood. Potato is an underground stem. Same for onion. Okay, even ginger is the same. Colocasia species also actually has the same type of reproduction. Now, one thing that you have to remember at this level is, when you are asked to write about the examples of underground stem, as in the scientific knowledge we do not expect these answers. Okay, not like ginger, potato, onion. What teachers really expect is the rhizome. By the time you say rhizome, people will understand that you're talking about ginger. Okay, so tuber of a potato. The tuber of a potato is the part that is giving rise to the vegetative propagation. It is not the potato itself, it is the tuber part. Okay, you have to be very specific. Since these things are scientific, little bit technical, so these things have to be kept in mind. Same way, for onion, we will not use the word onion, we will use the word bulb. Okay, because that is the specific part which is giving rise to the reproduction in onions. Then for corn, it is colocasia. Okay, colocasia, we say it reproduces by corn. Alright, all of these are underground stems. Just like that, we have subaerial stems also. Subaerial means not underground, just on the ground. Okay, like runner. Runner means you will find it all like stretched along a very long path on the ground itself. Then offset is also something which is, for example, water hyacinth, you must have seen how it actually grows. And then sucker is very common in chrysanthemum, but sucker is not a very wanted type of reproduction, because it's along with the sucker what we get. People generally treat sucker as a weed. Okay, it's a little bit unwanted type, but along with that what we get is the actual useful part. Then we have stolon. For example, in case of strawberry reproduction, stolon is very important. Then we have roots. Example in Albizia, it is the root part which is actually giving rise to the vegetative propagation. And leaves. Begonia species is a very good example of leaves. So these things are again exclusive of these examples only, which you have to keep in mind, at least one example each. Bulbil is an agave species. Actually, bulbil is like in the plant part there is a small bud-like area which ultimately gives rise to the mature plant. Okay, that when detached it falls on the say ground or the soil, and then it gives rise to the mature plant. This is exclusively in case of agave. Now these were the natural parts. Now coming to the artificial ones, what has human being done to increase or advance, what has been the advancement in the process of vegetative propagation? Very interestingly, it has been seen that when you cut a part of the plant and then you make it fall on the ground, or you grow it on the soil as a new plant, very beautifully it grows into a new plant. Okay, example in case of sugarcane, it has been seen that when you cut it or detach it from the parent plant and make it grow as a new plant, then it develops very beautifully. Then next example can be layering. Layering is something like when you are detaching a part of the plant again and you are tying it with say soil, or you're tying it with any particular say plastic and allowing that particular area to grow, and you're feeding that particular area with lots of nutrients and everything whatever is required, so that that particular area you can detach later on when it grows into a mature plant, then that's called layering. It can be in the mound form, example in jasmine, or it can be in the air, that is also called guti. Okay, in colloquial language it's called guti, and in lychee plantations it's very common. Then in grafting we have two types. Again, this is one of the most important and interesting say techniques by which it can be grown: scion and bud. So you must have heard about stalk and scion. Stalk and scion. Stalk is the upper part, okay, and scion, like how do you imagine this? Say suppose any particular, this is the stem, okay, and you have a red color rose and you have a white color rose, okay. From this you can actually get a pink color rose. How is it possible? From the red color rose, if you cut the lower portion, and if from the white color rose, if you cut the in the sense rose plant, not the rose plant, if you cut the upper portion, upper and lower means what? The shoot and the root. Okay, one from the root part, one from the shoot part, you are cutting, you are joining these two things in a particular area, in a third area. You're joining and growing them, okay, you're taking care of them, and then you're growing it, and then finally you will see that you will get a new variety of plant which will not match with either of the two. It won't be red or white, it will be a third character, it will be a third quality, okay. So that means you imagine the third quality which is produced, the third plant, it should have all the good characters that the red rose had. Also it should have the good characters that the white rose had. So this is something which is artificially being prepared, but you imagine the level of efficiency that is required here. I mean the level of science that is required here, that is very interesting. And same way for bud also. Rose is actually, you can give example in everything in case of artificial things. Rose you can do by cutting, rose you can do by mound layering also, rose you can do by scion also, scion stalk. Bud grafting is the same as I explained in case of scion and stalk, but it happens exclusively in peach and a few others. Now coming to the importance of all these types, why do we need to study about this? What do you think is the importance of, how is it required in our daily lives? Importance is, it's rapid. Okay, it's very fast, it's easy. The ones which are growing naturally, where human beings don't have to do anything, it's very easy, right? It won't take much time, and it's a less expensive method. Of course, if you cut a plant area, if you cut a part of the mother plant, and then you just let it grow on some other soil, of course it's a less expensive instruments and all those things you require. No, so it's a very less expensive method, and you're getting good quality plants also by this. Then propagates those plants that have lost the dividing capacity by sexual reproduction. Very important point. Suppose there's a plant which has become dormant due to some reason, some genetic problem. In those cases, what you can really do is, you can cut a part of that plant and let it grow as some other. Like in case of stalk and scion, what we did was, we cut one plant portion and then we tied it to some other portion. So suppose one root has stopped growing, or some shoot has stopped growing, you can choose the other part of the plant and then let it grow for sexual reproduction, right? So once it has lost the dividing capacity, it is not like you are just throwing it away, you are making it to use, okay. So like that, their wastage is minimal. And exact genetic copies of parents showing the same character, what I call the Xerox copy, the clone, the exact identical. If there is any kind of plant which has a very good quality and that's superior characters are there, in that case there is a very less chance of losing that particular character and continuing it in the next generation also. So you can understand the importance. Now provides excellent methods of propagation of desirable varieties of economically important plants. What about the economically important plants? And what do you mean by economically important plants? All this eucalyptus and the neem and tulsi, all the medicinal plants, or say all the cashew plantation, all these are economically important, okay, they're very important. So these vegetative propagation is an excellent method of propagation of these economically important ones. And it's used in raising disease-free plants. Another very, very important point, because this is done by meristem tip culture. Please remember the term, it is called meristem tip culture, by which this artificial method only helps in the vegetative propagation and further growth of the plants if you want to raise disease-free plants. Now coming to the limitations, yes, every process has their pros and cons, so definitely this also will have its advantage and disadvantage as well. So we have to just compare which is more, advantage or disadvantage, and accordingly we have to use. Disadvantages, it requires technical expertise. Now suppose you want to do stock and scion type of grafting, and then you don't know which one to add first and which one, how to tie and how to, or you want to do mound layering and you don't know what percentage of the chemical, I mean not the chemical, the solution or the nutrients you require to add in the complete mixture. In that case, it's a little bit of difficulty. It will pose some obstructions in the growth, so it requires technical expertise. Since they do not have tap roots, they can be uprooted in storms. Yes, they don't have tap roots, they all have adventitious roots because they are growing from their mother plants, right? You remember the runner, the stolon, whatever it is, they did not have tap roots, okay? They were just an elongation of the mother plant. So they can be uprooted in storms. That means they are, this basement is not very strong, and they do not involve meiosis and fusion of gametes, so it is not helpful in developing new varieties. As I told you, the disadvantage is that once a defective gene is there, you can't really work on removing that particular gene, so that's a very big disadvantage, genetically at least. Of course, genetic engineering can help us in that case, and that is a other thing. Okay, now coming to the sexual reproduction. Now we have done with asexual, vegetative and sexual. For the sexual reproduction, what we have to understand is, this is a bit of say understanding is required here. Understand that there are two phases, okay? In any flowering plant or angiosperm, in the life cycle, there are two phases. One is sporophytic and one is gametophytic, okay? Now, what happens? Sporophytic phase is diploid in nature. Why is it diploid? Means you have understood that it is formed by the fusion of two cells. And gametophytic is just the gamete formation, so it is haploid in nature. Now, zygote represents sporophytic phase, of course, because zygote is 2n, right? Zygote is always 2n. The sex cells are n, that you know. So if it is 2n, of course, it is diploid, that means it is sporophytic. Microspores and megaspores represent the gametophytic phase. Now microspore is present in stamens and megaspores in carpels, that you already know, and microspores give us sperms, that is a male gamete, and we get the female gamete from the megaspores. Micro and mega, please remember, according to the size they are given the names. Micro sperms, which are extremely small, but mega eggs, which are comparatively bigger than the sperms. Now fusion of male and female gametes called the diploid zygote, okay? Diploid zygote you get after the fusion happens of microspore and megaspore fuses to give the diploid zygote, which enters the sporophytic phase. Again, from the sporophytic phase, it gives rise to gametophytic phase, sporophytic phase, like this the cycle continues, okay? Sexual reproduction. Right. Next, events for sexual reproduction in plants, what happens is development of anther and male gametophyte, and development of ovule and female gametophyte, and then gamete transfer. So basically you can differentiate into three different processes or steps. First you develop the male gamete, and then the female gamete, and then the transfer. You know how the transfer happens? That is called pollination, which is another very important and critical phenomena. In case of pollination, it is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of another, or the same flower of usually, if it is another flower, it can be of the same species usually, that is called pollination. If it is pollinating with itself, or if it is pollinating with the some flower of the same plant, some other flower, it's called autogamy or geitonogamy respectively, because geitono means neighbor, so neighboring flower, okay? Neighboring flower means any other flower of the same plant. Or cross pollination, xenogamy or allogamy, that means of a different plant altogether, okay? So this is pollination. Then fertilization. Once the process of transfer of pollen is over, you can go for the fusion process, that is fusion of two dissimilar sexual reproductive units. When they are fusing, it is called fertilization. In plants, the process happens after fertilization, after pollination, sorry, and after entry of pollen from anther to stigma, what happens? The pollen tube enters the stigma and goes towards the ovules and reaches the ovule embryo sac. You must have studied the pollination process, where triple fusion comes after the next pollination process happens. And two male gametes are discharged, and out of which one moves towards the egg, and the other one goes towards the polar nuclei. The one which moves towards the egg actually goes for the fusion, and the one which goes to the polar nuclei goes for the second fusion. Okay, that's why 2 times fusion or double fertilization, and the first male gamete which is fusing with the egg forms the diploid zygote. This is called the fertilization. This is what we are actually concerned about, because this is the one which is going to give us the new plant. And the other male gamete which is fusing with the 2 polar nuclei produces the triple fusion nucleus, that is 2 fusion process happening. That's for double fertilization. Now in some cases we know that the female gametes can produce organisms without any kind of fertilization. Okay, this is exclusive process without fertilization, and it's called parthenogenesis. Very important. Again, you can come as one word answers. Now what happens actually to the ovary after fertilization is, different parts of the ovary develop into different things. Okay, like ovary wall, the one which was the ovary wall becomes the pericarp of the seed of the fruit. Ovule becomes the seed that you know. Egg cell becomes the embryo. Outer integument becomes the testa. Inner one becomes the tegment. Right. Now in animals, this was all about plants. Basically we will talk about animals in some other chapter, that is reproduction in humans, but here just to tell in short, in animals the process of gamete formation is called gametogenesis, which is in sexually reproducing organisms, and spermatogenesis in the formation of sperms in males, and oogenesis is the formation of eggs or ovum in the females. Now fertilization in case of lower vertebrates, this occurs outside the body of females. Example, say frogs, right? External fertilization is a very common thing, and in case of higher vertebrates it occurs within the body, that is internal fertilization, for example human beings. And physicochemical events that lead to the transformation of the fertilized ovum into a mass of cells called morula. Not just morula, it further develops into blastocyst, and then this process is called gastrulation. So morula, blastula, gastrula, this all will come in the, under that human reproduction chapter in details, but basically this much has to be understood, that there are several physicochemical factors or events in the body which actually lead to the transformation of this fertilized. Once the ovum is fertilized, it leads to a mass of cells, that is called the morula, further blastula, and then gastrula, and finally it gives rise to the embryo and then the baby. So I hope the reproduction in organisms part is clear, and this part requires actually understanding and a little bit of memorization. Let me also take a moment to introduce you to Missionet. It is an online tutoring and mentoring service which connects you to Tier 1 college students of IITs, NITs, AIMS, etc., from which you can ask any kind of doubts which you may have with regards to your competitive or board examinations. Their fees start from a menial ₹1,000 per subject per month, where you get the said services along with AI-based feedback as well. You can reach out to them at contact@missionet.in for any queries. That marks the end of our session. Hope that was good. Make sure that you like the video and subscribe to our channel for further updates. Thank you.